the love of God, the craziness of the world. Join me weekly on the Discussions with Delinah podcast to talk about it. Let's get deep and vulnerable with many topics that will leave you thinking. Topics from joy to anxiety. Let's talk about the Word and how God loves us all and wants us to grow. I'll catch you next week on DWD. Hey y'all, welcome back to another Discussions with Delinah. So today's topic is kind of going to be on the fact that God is coming back. And it's kind of crazy to think, and it's not something that we talk about often in the church. I mean, we always say like, oh, God's coming soon, but we don't know when. That's basically the whole point, is we don't know when he's coming. But definitely with everything going on in society today, it's something that has been crossing my mind more and more. And my devotional yesterday was about it, so I decided to do this topic. It's also a topic that I've had multiple people ask me to do. I probably will do another one of these at a later date that's more specifically talking about like revelations and stuff like that, and like his actual coming. But for right now, we're kind of just going to talk about the idea that he is coming back. So let's just jump right on into it. So like I said, God is coming sooner than we realize. And the main thing, sorry, I'm a little out of it today. The main thing that I want to talk about is our preparedness for his coming and watching for his coming. So I'm going to start off with Zechariah 14:1. It says, "Watch for the day the Lord is coming, when your possessions will be plundered right in front of you." It's time to get real. I mean, it's been time to get real. And I think that as believers, as people, we know God is coming, but we are like, oh, it's going to happen so long from now. I mean, I pray that I get to have children before God comes back, but you never know. Like, honestly and truly, you never know. And as scary as that is, it's also a wake-up call. And it's also a push for us to get our life right and align ourselves with Christ and align ourselves with his word and watch for his coming, but also prepare for his coming. My Bible app is being just a little finicky today. So I'm going to read Luke 21:27. If I can pull it up. Also, I'm sorry, like the angles today are just not doing it. Okay, so Luke 21:27 says, "And then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory." And I'll read 28 too. "Now when these things begin to take place, straighten up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." There will be a day where we are standing, waiting to be let into the gates of heaven. And we will hear "Good job, my faithful servant," and we will be let in, or we will be turned away. So the question is what you're doing in your life leading you to the former or the latter? After Jesus was risen, angels appeared to the disciples and told them that he would physically return, that Jesus would physically return. And Acts 1:11 talks about that. So let me read that real quick. So Acts 1:11 says, "Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven." So talking about him physically. And again, we can't know the exact time of when he's going to come. Like, we can guess all we want, but it does not mean that we will guess correct. And in Matthew 24:26, I passed it. It says, "So if they say to you, look," yes. "So if they say to you, look, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. If they say, look, he is in the inner rooms, do not believe." And then 27, "For as the lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of Son of Man." And even though we don't know the exact time, the exact place, the exact moment that Jesus is coming, Jesus told us to be ready. And that's expressed in Luke 12:40. So Luke 12:40 says, "You also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." Again, we will read multiple times in the Bible that we will not know when to expect. Now, again, when I do that later Bible study, that later sermon on Revelations, it talks about like all of the things that will happen, before Christ's coming. That's a whole separate, not a separate thing because it goes with this, but it's a whole other topic that I'll touch on. But even then, like, we won't know until those things happen. And again, the world that we live in right now, sorry, there's like 2 or 3 different airplanes that keep passing by my house and sound really, really close. I lost my train of thought. Like, the world has always, in my opinion, the world has always been a bit crazy. But right now, with who's in office, and not just talking about the president, but, the governors and the senators and all of that, there's a lot of hatred, I would say, and a lot of want for power. And as believers, sorry, my husband just texted me. As believers, we have to remember that there's only one person, there's only one powerful being, and that is God. And I think that that's something that a lot of people tend to forget. Because yes, don't get me wrong, yes, we obey authority, and we follow the leaders of this country, with caution. But I've noticed, and I don't want to get too political into this, politics is not my forte, nor do I want it to be. Another plane. Okay. From what I see, I'm starting to think that's not a plane because it's really close to me. I'm sorry. From what I see in media and on social media as well, with who's in office, a lot of people tend to idolize him. And I'm not going to say the name just, in case anything gets flagged or whatever. And I'm not going to say whether I'm pro or against. Again, I'm not talking politics per se. I'm more so talking about someone who is in a position of power being idolized by the people, when the only person that we should idolize is God. It is blatantly said in the Bible to not have any other idols. And that is something that, again, I notice a lot of Christians, a lot of believers may have voted for Trump, just based on whatever beliefs or whatever. But there comes a point where it's not just, oh, we think this person would be great to lead us. It comes to a point now where it's like, oh yes, anything he does and says is right. And that's just not true. We're human. He's human. It's regardless of who's in office, whether it was him or someone else or whoever, as a people, we tend to trust so highly on authority figures that are people. And the same can be said, and I know this kind of took a turn a little bit too, the same can be said for celebrities. Like, we could talk political figures, but the same can be said about celebrities. There are a lot of celebrities that people idolize. To name a few, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Ariana Grande. Like, there are a lot of, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with those celebrities. I mean, I think all their music is good, whatever. But, again, there is a line that I feel like a lot of people either blur or have crossed when it comes to idolizing people that are above you. And that's more so authority figures, because celebrities are on the same playing field as us. They have more fame, but they're people. they're people. I mean, same with authority figures, but authority figures have a little bit more power to actually do things compared to celebrities. And so when we lose sight of that, and we lose sight of the fact that God is the one and only God, God is the only one that can really do anything. Like, he is the one that can make all the difference in the world. We pull away from him without realizing it. The more that we idolize things or people, we pull away from him. And when he comes, he sees that. And he sees that you're not connected with him because you're idolizing something else. Just take that into account. In the devotional that I read, it named 4 things to kind of prepare yourself to watch for God's coming, and just prepare yourself for his coming. So the first thing is going to be to avoid scoffers' error. So, like people saying like, oh, what happened to the promise that Jesus is coming again? He's coming. Like, Jesus is going to come back. It's not an if, it's not a like, but it's a when. It's a when. We don't know the when, but it's a when. Jesus is coming, and people are going to be left behind, and that's it. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. That is what's happening. So to avoid that kind of doubt, that sense of doubt, if we know the reality, we can be patient and waiting for it. Okay, the second thing is going to be asking God to give us a sense of urgency for those not saved. And now I'm guilty of this, and I'm sure many of us are. If it was up to me, everybody in the world would know Jesus. Everybody in the world would know who God is, will know the Holy Trinity, will know salvation, every single individual person. There have been many questions. So my husband and I, side note, we have an app that we do every day. It's called Agape, subtle plug. I 100% recommend this app. If you want to be close with friends, if you want to be close with a spouse, it's something, I think we've had Agape now for 2, maybe 3 years, and I use it every day, and he does his best to use it every day. But it's basically an app that gives you a different question. There have been multiple times where the question, and you can't see each other's response until you answer. But there's been multiple times where the question is somewhere along the lines of like, if you could make one law, or if you can change one thing about the world. And both Sebastian and I, but I'm only going to speak about myself right now, but both of us have put multiple times in multiple different variations over the years of, for everyone to know God, for everyone to be joyous and live in harmony, for everyone to pray, for everyone to, like, to stop wars. And again, with all this talk of like World War III and whatever, like, there was a question we had the other day that was, would you rather stop war or sicknesses? And we both had put war because of what's going on. But Sebastian brought up a good point where he was like, I said war because war is the people's choice, whereas sickness isn't. Like, sickness is something that we don't really have any control over right now, whereas war we do. Sebastian brought up a good point that he said war because if we stop war, all of that money that's going towards nuclear, bombings and troops and the army and all this and that can then be transformed and used to find cures for sicknesses. And I say that to say that although I feel this way, other than discussions with Delinah, or if I'm having a random conversation with someone, I'm not necessarily going out to each individual person and helping them to be saved. And that's something that everyone will do differently. That's something that, God has a plan for each of us, and it may not be the same. So whereas one person has that urgency to go on mission trips and to reach people in other countries and in other places and share the gospel, someone else like me has the urgency to want to do videos that are going to go on the internet that are hopefully going to reach at least one person. My goal is never to reach 1,000, 2,000 views. My goal is if one person can watch these videos and one person can either feel better about their own relationship with God, because I would like to say that I am fairly transparent on here, that my relationship with God is not perfect. There are a lot of things that I want to change. There are a lot of things that I want to grow in. So if I could help one person feel better about their relationship with God, if I could help one person learn about who God is and want to develop a relationship with God, if I could help one person just help them grow in their relationship, then I've done my job. So praying for that urgency to want to help others to know him will lead to more souls saved going to heaven and less people left behind. So just think about that. Now the third thing is to not grumble with one another. So in here it says to heed James' advice, don't grumble about each other, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. For look, the judge is standing at the door, James 5:9. There's so many useless quarrels that we have as people. Like, there are so many. Like, it is actually baffling and honestly kind of ridiculous how many useless fights and useless arguments are had. And it's, again, watching the news and seeing things going on, I'm like, all of this could have been avoided, but okay. Just try to avoid them. That's all I gotta say on that one. And then the last one, let the reality of his return. Okay, I think I wrote that wrong. Hold on. We have to let the reality of Christ's return govern our behavior. So if you know God is coming back, if you know you're going to be judged, if you know that it is going to be a yes, you're coming to heaven, or no, you're not, why wouldn't you let that affect your day-to-day? If every little thing that you do leads up to that moment, why wouldn't you let it govern how you react in situations, how much you pray, what you do, And I'm not saying do only good deeds so you can get into heaven. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But to a certain point, why, if you truly do believe what, if you practice what you preach, if you truly do believe in God and you truly, are praying and doing all of these things, why wouldn't you want your end goal to be to go to heaven and live an everlasting life in just peace and joy? Like, I guess for me, it's a little bit more of like, I don't want to say common sense, but common sense. Like, if that's your end goal, then you have to do things that are going to align with that end goal. You're not going to steal cars and murder people if you want to get into heaven. That's not going to be what, you intentionally do. I'm talking about intentionality. Accidents and stuff like that is different, but I'm talking about, intentionality. If you are purposely going out and you're like, yeah, I'm going to rob a bank today just for fun, but you want to get into heaven, but you're stealing and you're lying, probably running away, it's not adding up. It just doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Live a life according to God's will, in hopes, because again, just because we live according to God's will does not necessarily mean we're getting into heaven. God knows our hearts. So we can be absolutely perfect on the outside. We're always going to church. We're always doing this. We're always doing that. And then we get to heaven and God's like, well, yes, you were doing all those things on the outside, but when you got home, you were getting drunk, or you were speaking death over your life, or you were doing this, or you were secretly watching porn, or you were doing... He knows your heart. If your heart is not pure and aligning with the actions of your day-to-day, you're going to have issues. So, if that is the case, pray over it. That's all you got to do is just pray. And God will align your life. You just got to ask. Okay, I'm just going to end off with, I'm not going to read it because it's a long chapter, but I'm going to just, if you guys would like, to read Zechariah 14, 1 through 21. That's the verse that they left off with in my devotional yesterday, so I'm going to leave you with it. And I hope you have an absolutely blessed day and a blessed week.